by now. It's Friday, June 23rd. I'm Amy Campbell in for Maggie Gray. Robin Lunsberg joins me this morning. Good to have you, Robin.
Thank you. Big day today, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the NBA draft last night.
It's the morning after the NBA draft. There's plenty to talk about from last night, and possibly the biggest news of the night, Robin, had nothing to do with any of the draft picks, but a monster trade. Jimmy Butler is heading to Minnesota. And
summer's a good time to go to Minnesota.
Yeah, it's not too cold. All of a sudden, the T-Wolves are looking like a playoff team. We had some NBA players in studio last night. They'll share their thoughts on that in a bit. But first, Robin, we've got some headlines to break down.
Yep, and Lavar Ball is a prophet. Give credit where it's due. Everything the man said would happen has happened, or as Big Baller Brand tweeted, he spoke it into existence. You know, Lavar Ball, you have to give it up. Whatever you say about the guy, and I understand a lot of the critiques, but as far as being a promoter and as far as calling his shot, it's right there. Lonzo's the number two pick to the Lakers, and Lavar Ball, his basically pro wrestling manager, called it.
I wish I had that kind of power to speak things into existence and have them happen. Like, I would like to be Beyonce, and it's going to happen. I believe it.
Hey, you know, lemonade, just drink some of that, and maybe it'll take place for you. But, of course, Lavar couldn't make it through the night without another bold proclamation. That's that the Lakers will make the playoffs in Lonzo's first year. I wonder if that one will come true. Here was Lakers coach Luke Walton's reaction to the pressure Lavar puts on Lonzo.
I think it will make it more challenging a little bit. But I think every top draft pick that comes in has a target on their back. You know, the best players in this league want to set the tone with these young players early to let them know what it's like here.
So, Amy, are the Lakers making the playoffs next year?
I'm going to say no to that one. 26 wins last year. I think that's a big jump. But regardless what you think about Lavar Ball, this is great for the Lakers organization. And thankfully for Knicks fans, Kristaps Porzingis wasn't traded, but Knicks did have a selection to make, and with the 8th pick, they took Frank Ntilikina. I'll tell you how I feel about that one later. But Robin, did the Knicks botch this one again?
No, actually, I don't think the Knicks messed up here. I mean, first of all, they didn't trade Kristaps Porzingis, which is the biggest win. You saw the giant billboard there. Yeah. But also, on top of that, you have to be fair in your analysis, right? And sometimes people say you have to take the other side and artificially create some sort of balance, but there are some things the Knicks are good at. And what the Knicks have been very good at is really, they've been very good at scouting internationally, whether you look at Kuzminskis or Hernan Gomez or, of course, Porzingis. They've been good at finding talent in the D-League. They've been pretty good at drafting as well. So I'm not going to question this move when they make it at that point, because that's what they've been good at. The problem has occurred once the player gets to the Knicks. It's the development. I mean, they haven't signed a first-round pick to a contract extension since Charlie Ward. He was drafted in 1994. That's the year that Illmatic dropped. But as far as the draft pick itself, I'm with it. You got a long guy who can play defense. The Knicks really need that. Some wingspan. They needed another ball handler. So I'm not going to kill them until they deserve it, which is going to be pretty soon, I'm sure.
Well, that's what scares me about this pick, because this is a very raw prospect, and you talk about that development. That's what makes me nervous. But maybe the surprise of the night for me was that Paul George wasn't moved all night. I'm watching social media, all the channels. I've got all my screens out. I'm waiting for that news to break. I'm looking for that tweet. Robin, all week we've been hearing news about Paul George and the Cavs, Paul George and the Lakers. I'm expecting something to happen. There was a lot of buzz about conversations happening between the Pacers and the Celtics last night, and then that seemed to stop. I'm shocked that we're still waiting to see what happens with him.
Yeah, because he sort of called it out, right? And therefore you expect that trade to inevitably happen. It was Jimmy Butler last night that was moved instead of Paul George, but obviously the cloud still hangs over the Pacers. Listen to this from team president Kevin Pritchard, who was surprised to find out that George might not want to stay in Indiana.
Yeah.
Kind of reload and see what, if you could.
For me, it was a gut punch. I mean, it was a total gut punch, because we'd had many conversations over the summer about players that we'd like to add, a little bit of the style that we'd like to play, and I was, in my opinion, very inclusive with him. And the message over the summer up until this weekend was, let's build a winning team. And so when that came in, that, you know, he wanted to look at another place, it was a gut punch for us.
Pretty candid comments there from Kevin Pritchard, calling it a gut punch. I'm surprised to hear that because there's been so much buzz about Paul George for such a long time wanting to move. I'm surprised his own GM wouldn't have his finger on the pulse a little bit more than that. What do you make of those comments?
Well, I mean, I think he's being honest, and Paul George did become a star there, so you're always hopeful you're going to keep the guy. Now he knows, though. It's better to know than be in one of these situations where you're constantly guessing or questioning, a la Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City. And he's not on a hard deadline to make this deal. I mean, you don't want to wait to the All-Star break because as the time keeps going, you lose a little bit more leverage. But if you look at what happened with Jimmy Butler last night, I don't think that was great return for Chicago. So perhaps Pritchard is letting the offers build in strength a little bit because it's not like he has to do it today or he wasn't, on the clock to do it at the draft. Though I would expect Paul George now to be moved sooner rather than later.
I wonder what really makes sense for him now besides LA, with him saying LA's where I want to go. As far as everybody else is concerned, he's a one-year rental. He's going to LA. Why would somebody want to give up a lot for a guy that they know is going to be there for only a year?
Well, that's just buzz. We don't know for sure that he's going to LA. We've heard players linked to various organizations and teams before. I mean, they're always linked to the Knicks or the Lakers, right? I mean, the Lakers have been on this white horse is going to ride in and save us sort of plan for a while now. Paul George is the latest candidate. Now, there seems to be an affinity there from Paul George to also go to LA, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, especially if it's a contender who's able to bring him in.
Right, well, what if he goes to Cleveland? They have a great thing going on there. They win a title. Maybe he wants to stay there.
Well, if they win a title and he's a part of that, I don't imagine he's going to bolt to the Lakers, who probably aren't going to make the playoffs again this year despite Lavar's prediction. All right, now it's time to give our takes on the best and worst picks of last night's draft. We'll start with the good news. For me, the best pick came from, of all teams, the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox. They needed some athleticism. They needed a ball handler. They needed a point guard. And I think he meshes Amy well with the other young guys they have there, in particular, Willie Cauley-Stein. Who's your best pick?
I love the De'Aaron Fox pick, but I'm going to go with Jason Tatum. He was one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive players that I saw in person this year. I got to watch him at the ACC tournament, and just mind-blowingly smooth and polished, an arsenal of moves down low, and a really polished scorer. I think that's exactly what Boston needs, a very good defensive team that could use a little more scoring. If you're talking need plus prospect, I love the Jason Tatum pick at 3.
All right, how about your worst pick? Who gets that distinguished honor?
I alluded to this a little earlier, but I am going with Frank Ntilikina, simply because you talked about that developmental piece with the Knicks, and this guy being such a raw, unknown prospect, just 18 years old from France, and really, he could be amazing, and I hope that he is a great player. But he's unknown, and you have two guys sitting right there in Malik Monk and Dennis Smith at that number 8 pick that were ranked much higher by many respected basketball minds. I don't know how you go for a unknown, undeveloped guy over two guys that are sitting right there.
See, we couldn't make it through a full show without criticizing the Knicks. It had to happen at some point. For me, the worst pick was Lauri Markkanen, and not because of him. I don't want to single him out. That's a little unfair. He had some success in college. He had some success overseas, but because of the deal he was a part of, essentially Chicago is banking on him being a big part of the core post Jimmy Butler. And I'm not sure he does enough outside of shoot the basketball and score to justify that sort of swap.
If you're Dwayne Wade, how are you feeling today?
Well, I mean, I'm all right once I get to the ATM.
Okay. That's fair.
Maybe I'm a little upset until I see that withdrawal slip, then I'm good. As we mentioned at the top of the show and just now, a trade, not a pick, was the story of the night as Jimmy Butler heads from Chicago to Minnesota. Here's a breakdown of the blockbuster move.
The 2017 NBA draft is in the books, and what a night it has been. Not only have we seen young players being added to this league, we've also seen players being moved around as well. I'm Madeline Burke, joined by SI NBA writer Ben Golliver, Knicks center Kyle O'Quinn, and Sacramento Kings guard Garrett Temple. Guys, first of all, Jimmy Butler moving from Chicago to Minnesota. That's the big trade of the night that we've seen, obviously leading up to this draft night. And in the weeks prior, we've heard rumors of where he could go, but maybe not so much of an amicable trade movement here. We see this tweet coming from Travell Gaines, his trainer, comparing the GM of the Bulls to drug dealers. What's your take on this?
What I'd say, though, is I understand the frustration. Like, Jimmy came in as a role player. He worked his way up to a superstar. They never really treated him like a superstar in Chicago. He's been on the trade block for like a year and a half, it feels like. There's been questions about him fitting with the coach, Fred Hoiberg. Do their styles match? Obviously, he gets traded to Minnesota, where he's reunited with the former coach he worked with pretty well. To me, I understand the frustration. If you're not going to treat your main guy like he's the whole show, if you're not going to really build a team around him, if you're not going to structure the offensive style around him, I understand why he would feel slighted. And maybe this isn't the perfect analogy. You never really want to compare people to drug dealers, but I get why he would be frustrated knowing that he thought he was going to be Chicago for this whole contract, and now he's gone.
And Jimmy's obviously in Paris right now on a trip. I mean, as a player, if you're finding this out, do you expect the team to kind of come to you first, or what are your expectations if you're going to be traded?
Well, we all know the draft day is one of the most days where there's the most movement going on. Anything can happen. Every second counts, and it happened when he wasn't here. I mean, should he be at the draft? No, not really. But things got to move, and I think that if he's not putting things out there, I think nobody else in his camp should. So I think that tweet is a little too out of the realm of what should be said, but it's said, and now he has to deal with it.
Yeah, like he said, I think one thing, he has been on the trading block, but he's handled it like a champ. He has been a class act for Chicago his whole career, and I think he will have something to say to his guy, because we're talking about his guy's tweet and we're talking about Jimmy Butler, so it's connected to him. Chicago at the end of the day did draft him, did help mold him into the superstar that he has become. So even though they probably didn't handle this the right way, at the end of the day, he has been a class act his whole time, and it's not a good look. In terms of being contacted before, trades and whatnot, the business, the way it is now, superstars especially should, I think. I'm assuming they probably called him. Hopefully they did. According to his trainer, the way the GM is, it might not have happened. Yeah. So, but in situations like that, your superstar, when you trade him, that's definitely a call you should make.
Yeah, one thing I know about this situation in the past, whether it's the trade deadline or last summer, I think he was getting a consistent message that they weren't going to move him, right? And so if you've heard that in the past and you kind of think, okay, these rumors are coming just out of left field, they're not real, but then it actually happens, that'll slap you in the face no matter what, even if you know this has been a possibility going on a year. I do think we should focus on the Minnesota side of this, too. These guys are exciting now, right? Karl-Anthony Towns, I think you guys would agree. I mean, he's one of the most untouchable, untradeable guys in the league. Young talent, huge upside. Andrew Wiggins probably needs some more polish. He can still, definitely grow his game. You throw Jimmy Butler into that kind of a youth core and say, hey, you take on all the major defensive responsibilities. You're going to probably play 46 minutes under Tibbs, trying to get this team into the playoffs. If you're a Timberwolves fan, you haven't been in the playoffs forever. Now you're getting a chance to do it. Potentially, sneaking in 7-8 seed next season. This is a big win for them, I think.
I think it's a huge win. And I mean, like we've seen from the Timberwolves, they can fill it up. They can score. Jimmy Butler brings that two-way player, that defensive push that they need. I mean, in your opinion, does this make the Timberwolves a playoff team?
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to make a good push for it. You're putting two people back together that had success in Chicago with Tibbs and Butler. So that doesn't have to be worked out. They know each other very, very well. And I think that Jimmy Butler will serve a purpose as a player coach on the floor because he knows how to, deal with Tibbs and the hard things that people say he may do. He's been through it, and he'll know how to translate that to the young guys.
That's a great point, because people that knock on Andrew Wiggins sometimes as he floats. Like, he's so talented. Does he lock in for 48 minutes? Who better to get you to lock in than Tibbs screaming your name, ice, 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 ice on the sideline, and then Jimmy Butler in your other ear screaming it from the court? I think that's a great point. And I mean, I think I'm buying stock in the Timberwolves. I know everybody was on their bandwagon at the start of last season saying this is the team that's going to jump up. Right. I still thought that was a little bit premature. Year 2 under Thibodeau, I think it's going to be very rosy.
A lot of young talent, a lot of great assets, and now Jimmy Butler joining this team. I think the Timberwolves are a team to watch this year.
The NBA draft action wasn't just confined to Barclays Center, though, of course. It was a huge night for social media, from Markelle Fultz's Instagram snafu to Joel Embiid's trolling of Lavar Ball. To cover all the gaffes and gifs, we're joined by the one and only Kenny Ducey.
How's it going, Robin? I'm glad you said GIF, by the way. I'm really a big proponent of GIF and not GIF.
And not the peanut butter.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but it worked for the alliteration there.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great.
It was good, creative there. Kenny, there's a lot of stuff in the bowels of the internet that draft prospects probably wish was hidden. I'm certainly glad it's not, because I think it's hilarious and very entertaining for us. And Sports Illustrated put together a list of some great tweets. What were some of your favorites?
Well, I really liked, I think it was Dennis Smith Jr.'s. I'm not even sure if I can say it on air, but it was, there it is, yeah.
I think you can now.
The best part about this was I think he was like 13 or 14 when he tweeted this, and it's just really funny. It's become part of the draft process now. I was asking a few of the prospects about it before the draft, and the funniest thing is you never realize that you have these tweets, that you just assume, like, that Jason Tatum said his mom followed him since he got Twitter, and like my mom followed me since I got Twitter. So I was like, well, I don't have any bad tweets from when I was 16, 17, 18.
You weren't slanging any bad tweets?
Yeah, well, I never tweeted that, but you know, and you just never realize, you forget about some things that you may have tweeted. But I think it could have been a lot worse. You know, there have been I think who's the other Grant? Not Jeremy, or Jeremy Grant, yeah, was tweeting really, really bad things about Russell Westbrook before he got traded. So there's some really bad examples of old tweets biting you, but that one, not too bad. It might make him a legend, honestly. Yeah.
Let's talk about the folk hero that is Lavar Ball. I mean, basically as popular as any player, right? He was essentially cupping his hand to his ear like Hulk Hogan with the audience.
Yeah, he was the most famous guy in the room for sure. It was that draft would have been pretty dead if it weren't for Lavar. He was walking up and down. He was high-fiving fans whenever he was moving to his photo shoots and whatever. And he actually threw his hat into the crowd at one point because this side of the stands loved him. And the other side of the stands hated him. And so they were booing him, and he soaked it in. He was like, let's go, gesturing towards the crowd.
It's like John Cena, right?
Yeah, it was great. He is really a pro wrestler, yeah. And so anyway, so he throws his hat, and apparently some kid caught it. He's going to sell it now, and it was really
For
funny,
how
though.
much?
I don't know. No, so someone offered him Yeezys. I actually talked to the kid. He was freaked out. Someone offered him Yeezys. Someone offered him thousands of dollars, and he said no. And he just didn't know what to do with the hat. He just had it, and he was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I'm just gonna go home with it. And he was like, because people were trying to get it from him.
Oh, you gotta strike while the iron's hot on that one.
Yeah, I think I take it he's gonna sell it. I hope he does.
He should sell it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, a few $100s at least, right? I mean, thousands on the spot,
Yeah.
That's
a
$50
bird in the
value.
hand, in my opinion, on
store.
that one, Kenny.
Of course, everyone not a fan of LeVar. Check out what Joel Embiid tweeted last night about Lonzo. Please dunk on him so hard that his daddy runs on the court to save him. That is, in a nutshell, what Lonzo's going to have to experience, because everywhere he goes, the specter of LeVar Ball, his dad, follows.
Yeah, and he said in his post-draft interview that everyone is saying that he has a bunch of the media says that he has targets on him. So it seemed like he was, making it out to be something that was made up, but absolutely not. I mean, there's a lot of players I'm sure would love to give him 30, 35 points on the court because they just can't stand that guy with the yellow big baller brand hat.
It doesn't really seem to bother Lonzo that much. I would like to be able to use Jesus and Zeus as sources for breaking news from now on and to speak things into its existence. Reported by Jesus and Zeus, this is happening.
Hey, they say two sources in journalism,
right? There you go. Those are both Jesus and Zeus.
Got corroboration from Zeus.
And everybody, was what he said. Jesus, Zeus, and everybody. So I think that's a lot of credibility there.
Consensus.
Wikipedia.
One of my other favorite things from the night, Markelle Fultz, poor guy, #1 pick, posted an Instagram photo promoting the watch company Tissot, but clearly he didn't get the memo that he had to do a little edit here. He needed to change the temp caption he was given to reflect where he was drafted. I get it. He's very excited that he is headed to City. Kenny, how big of a facepalm is this one?
Well, I'll tell you what, my hot take is I think this is a good thing because Paul Pierce does this all the time, or he's at least done it once that I know of, and I'm sure he's done it multiple times because Paul Pierce. And so if that's an indication, he's going to play like Paul Pierce. He's going to have a very successful NBA career. I saw people legitimately ripping him, though, online, PR people who have been in the biz for 20, 25 years. And I felt bad, like you said, because this kid doesn't know what he just was told to put this up.
Best night of his life.
Exactly.
But he knew he was going to the Sixers. I mean,
right.
They could have filled that in for him.
They could have days earlier. They could have. I mean, it would have been. Would it have been worse if it was excited to go to Boston instead of Philly? I don't know. I think City's probably better. It could have been much worse.
This might be a genius PR move because we all would not be talking about Tissot today if he didn't mess this up. It would have probably just gone under the radar. So maybe if I'm a genius Tissot person, I'm saying, why don't you mess it up so everybody talks about it?
Yeah, that's going to be the new move now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The new move is to speculate whether you can beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. That's also part of the whole deal. Malik Monk is the latest. Do you think he was serious and How is his new boss, his airness, going to respond to that?
I'm sure he's going to give him 40 on the court. And I think that he was not really that serious. I mean, he was obviously joking a little bit, but you got to like the confidence. And if you're not going to believe that you're going to beat Michael Jordan one-on-one, then you probably don't deserve to be drafted on draft night, honestly, in the first round. Because you need to have that confidence. And Michael Jordan's, he's borderline washed now. So, Malik Monk, I love this kid. Like, he was one of the most interesting guys to talk to. And I really thought he was going to go to the Knicks, and it would have been great in this market. But, yeah, I mean, you got to love this guy.
What age do you think Michael Jordan needs to hit before you could beat him on one-on-one?
65, I would say. I would say 65. I think he's got that old man strength now, and that's probably when it starts to wear off.
That fadeaway, though, I mean, he might be able to get that off till he's about 80. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever going to be a time in my life where I will confidently proclaim that I could beat MJ.
Oh, no, never. I mean,
but I didn't get drafted into the NBA.
Right. Well, last night, I mean, I thought that they were going to call your name, and they just didn't. So it's mine, too. I mean, I was really disappointed.
I'm going to speak it into existence. How about that? Finally, crying Knicks fan is back.
Jeez.
Kenny, what do you think of his triumphant return?
I just don't understand why this kid keeps being a thing. Like, are we trying to replace him with Spike Lee? Like, Spike Lee was a great Knicks mascot. Now we got this kid crying. And look, I mean, he doesn't know anything about New England in the layup in Game 7. He doesn't know anything about the '94 finals. Like, I don't either, but at least I'm not trying to be the Knicks mascot, Like, it's just ridiculous that he keeps showing up and we keep treating him like he is some sort of, like, go-to source for if the Knicks pick was good. This kid did not know the Knicks pick was good. I mean, he said Porzingis was going to stink, and then he was great. So why do we even talk to him and want to know anything that he's going to say about draft night? Because he's obviously going to be terribly wrong.
Isn't it better that he's there than at the JD and the Straight Shot concert?
Yes, thank you.
I don't know, because honestly, if he were at the Dolan concert, he'd be a real Knicks fan, right? Like, that would be like, okay, I'm a true Knicks fan. I don't care about Frank. I'm going to go see my man JD, because the real Knicks fans want JD to take over now.
That's the craziest part. That's the grandest
You got to go support your owner.
of maybe Phil Jackson's entire career. But let's give the kid credit. He's essentially a miniature Lavar Ball. I mean, he's sort of capitalizing on the hype of the Porzingis video and all the internet stuff that took place, and trying to keep it going a little bit.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, like, but you got a lot of famous kids, or you got, like, the good job, good effort kid. Like, where's that kid now? He's probably, in school, or I guess out of school now. He's not trying to capitalize on it. Like, I don't know, this kid's just trying to make it. He's trying really hard.
Kids can make some money. My son watches something called Ryan's Toy Review, where it's just this kid opening up toys all the time. I mean, it's glorious for children, but I don't know how it got so many views, and there it is. So, he's trying to follow that path.
Maybe he can do, like, a line of, like, Big Baller brand glasses.
Oh, see, you shouldn't give him any ideas, LeVar. And now he's going to do the Snapchat glasses for Big Baller brands.
There you go.
Man.
Launching $400 a pair.
Yeah,
it's actually reasonable for glasses.
Someone,
let's be honest.
that's well, not for sneakers though.
No.
And someone asked Alonzo about the prices, and he was just like, "Oh, we're trying to be a premium brand." Someone was like, "Are you going to lower the prices?" And he was like, "No." So
there is something to be said about that perception of it's more expensive, so I think it's better.
I think so too.
I mean,
I think they're going to sell.
I'm a sucker for that.
Michael LeVar knows what he's doing.
Sometimes the material is actually better. You buy more expensive jeans. You can wear them every day. No one notices, and you can.
Do we even know who manufactures these shoes though? Like who like how do these get made? Does like LaMelo like craft these in the garage or something? Like
well, we certainly have a lot to look forward to from the Ball family, and lots of fun stuff from last night. Kenny, thanks so much for bringing us all the good stuff.
Oh, no problem. Anytime, guys.
Yeah.
And that about covers the NBA draft. Now let's get you covered on what's coming up this weekend. It's time for SI Now's Weekend Drive, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. First, we'll head to Brooklyn for some 3-on-3 basketball. The Big Three will begin its season at the Barclays Center with some familiar faces. A former number 3 himself, Allen Iverson, will bring his crossover back to the hardwood. But the answer isn't too keen on the league's 4-point shot.
I know it's going to be a great weapon for guys like Jason Williams. I got to come in a little bit more. I ain't nowhere near strong enough to be shooting from way back there.
Iverson's last NBA game was in February of 2010 against the Bulls. He had 13 points. Next, we head to Russia for some soccer. The Confederations Cup is underway, and Portugal is tied atop Group A with Mexico. Cristiano Ronaldo has 1 goal so far in the tournament and is looking for an easy game against New Zealand before heading to the knockout round.
Obviamente estamos muito contentes. É a primeira vez que Portugal ganha aqui na Rússia. Eu acho que a equipa esteve bastante bem. Jogamos contra um adversário que jogava em casa, perante o seu público. Foi uma equipa que teve boa intensidade, mas acho que tivemos melhor, tivemos mais oportunidades e somos os justos vencedores. Acho que Portugal jogou bastante bem, estamos na luta, 4 pontos e a equipa está de parabéns.
Portugal can advance with a draw, but this game could get interesting if Portugal decides to rest Ronaldo. Lastly, we head to Madison Square Garden for some MMA. Bellator 180 will feature Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen. The two have a long history together, most recently in 2014, where a full-blown brawl erupted with no octagon during the filming of The Ultimate Fighter in Brazil. Chael can't wait to see him on Fight Night in New York City.
The last time I saw Vanderlei Silva, I fought Vanderlei Silva on the streets of Brazil. So yes, my words matter, my words care. We are back on pay-per-view, and Daddy is the king of pay-per-view. I'm not coming into the men's bathroom at the homeless shelter, Vanderlei. You can call me out all you want. I told you I'd be in New York, and I will be in New York on June 24th, one place you are not.
Sonnen is the biggest draw in MMA history, or so he keeps telling us. This will be his 46th fight over his 20-year career. And that's what's in store for this weekend. That about does it for us this week, Amy. Make sure you don't skip your exit meeting before headed off to the weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk after this.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get on the same page.
Apparently that's okay if you're in Philly, though.
Well, you know, it's okay in various places. You know, a lot of
You're a
people
part of the
celebrating
process.
today, other than the Knicks fans, including the Lakers. That's for you, Ben. Go Lakers. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and Facebook, SI Now Live, and make sure you have a great weekend.
Have a good one.